Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Australian Survivor Brains V Brawn II. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here to talk about episode 10. We're into week 4, and we have another big episode, a double challenge throw, which is this historic thing that I think a lot of people either will hate or have been like wanting their whole life. So, a big episode again, and to talk about it, as I do every Sunday night, I have my wonderful co-host. It is Chappelle. Chappelle, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. We beat the ash and we beat the itch, but now we're here to talk about the fall of a strong soldier, I will say, in these early stages of Australian Survivor. I cannot wait to talk about it with you.
Yes, I mean, Nunan, let's talk about it. Firstly, Nunan unfortunately does not outlast Jessie as the other Nunan, which I'm sure is so unfortunate for her, being her thing was to be the Survivor Nunan, so that's very unfortunate. But also, I'm really shocked by this because I feel like the people with plot armor are going home, and it's surprising to me. Like, I think when we did the confessional charts last week, Nunan had the second most confessionals after AJ and tied with Nash, just by the by. But of the people still in the game, and I'm like a little bit concerned because it feels like the big characters are going or are in trouble. And this like purple brawn monolith is like untouchable. And I'm just like, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I'm just a little bit worried about like our big characters being in danger compared to the fodder, right?
Yeah, I mean, our big characters have been doing some wild shit though. I mean, let's be clear. Some of the biggest names we've had have done some crazy stuff. I mean, I'm talking about Max. I'm talking about, Rich. There's so many that have just kind of like, we're like, you're taking up all the screen time, but then also like you will go shortly after this. Like, in a couple days you'll be gone. And Nunan is another character where I don't think she was playing as poorly as those other two people that I named, but there were definitely ups and downs. There were moments where we were like, Nunan, maybe try something else, maybe do something differently. But she ended up in a spot here where she had to fight. I thought this was a valiant effort. And, I commend her. She went out of here on one leg. But I think, she stood tall for the most part. So I think she's a very fun character. And if you got to bring back somebody from the pre-merge to ever play again, I would love to see what Nunan could do on a second chance.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a pre-merge, but it's like basically as long as a new era. How long was she out there for? So she played a big game. She went to a lot of tribal councils. I think what I'm realizing is the theme, now that I hear you talk about it, is like these players that have been going home will play big games that I often disagree with. And Nunan was part of that, like the way that Nunan didn't stick with Braun last time, and I felt like helped put them all on the bottom with Ursula. But then in their boot episode, I feel like I agree with what they do. Like Rich, I was like, what are you doing for ages? But then in the boot episode, I was like, he should flip. Like I get it. I was like defending him. That was a week ago. And then even with Max, I was like, he should flip. Yeah, I get it. I don't know if I would, it's easy to like, tell him to play the idol from my couch. So like that was like, maybe I understand them most as they're dying. And Nunan, even today, I was like, she tried to blow it up with like verifiable information. I don't know if she did more than that. I mean, she was idled out of the game. So, and on a double idol too, even if Paulie had voted with her, she would have gone on just the one vote. So she wasn't even the target. So I feel like this episode, I'm like, I see them as they're leaving. And that's now I'm realizing something of a theme.
Yeah, I agree. I think in this episode, like you talk about, there's an idol play, then there's another idol play, and you're thinking, well, what could she have done differently, right? I think there is some things that happened at the tribal council that maybe didn't help. Maybe if you are concerned, you're trying to pull off some sneak attack against a person in the majority, maybe don't, subtly, not so subtly push them to be, to play their idol. I feel like, after that tribal council, it would have taken nerves of steel for AJ to not play his idol. Like I'm sorry, especially once Paulie plays one, he has to play it. And then at that point, if there's any type of split, Nunan's doomed. And so, yeah, you could quibble at this point, but I really don't think there's much that she could have done differently. Honestly, she tried her best. It was a valiant effort. And you could tell she's a fan of the show. She's a gamer. And I like seeing her frustration, right? Whenever something's happening in the game, she's like, I'm trying my best to do whatever I think strategically or, competitively that is going to move me forward. And y'all are just getting in the way. You're getting in the way of all of my plans and all of my actions. And she's so frustrated throughout. So, the rise and fall of Nunan is going to be one people will watch in the future and think, dang, what could have been,
Yeah, well, let's talk about AJ playing his idol, because I was a little bit confused about what happened, but I think I've worked it out, unless it's total fan fiction. But we did see them saying something had gone wrong. Now, at first I thought it's just a little bit of theater to confuse Paulie, but if anything, it was making Paulie play the idol on himself more because it was in that moment where he was playing the idol. And then afterwards, after the vote, we see AJ say someone had screwed up. So something went wrong, which is confusing for us because we never saw their actual plan. The only split plan we see is with Paulie there, and Paulie is the target. But can I explain what I think happened and why it became essential for AJ to play his idol with that in mind?
Okay, go on.
So I think the optimal plan, so what I think must have been the plan, is of your 4 brains. So the numbers are the 7. So you got 4 brains with a probable Kristen that makes it a 5-2. So you can properly split, but you shouldn't split more than 3 of your brains in case the brawns are coming over the top. So I think 3 of the brains had to have been on Paulie. Then another brain, kind of like what they did with the quasi split last episode, but then another brain and Kristen are on Nunan. And then that means that Paulie and Nunan themselves can't win out. And if the 3 brains come over the top, they will also require an idol on Paulie. So it just means that, yeah, it would be like a 3-2-2 with Paulie and Nunan if they both, like, say, vote against AJ. But what they did is they put 1 extra vote, it seems, on Paulie. That's why it was like there were too many Paulie votes. And that made it a 4-1-2 if AJ and Paulie vote together. So once he realized there were too many, like, unsplit numbers on the primary of Paulie, once Paulie's played his idol, it becomes inevitable that he has to play his own idol because then it's just Paulie's vote that is deciding it. So at that point, Kristen has voted for Nunan. So say you can really trust the Kristen's with you. She's voted for Nunan. Nunan, we saw, voted for AJ. And if AJ didn't play his idol and Paulie voted for AJ, and earlier we heard AJ say that Paulie would never vote for Nunan, those 2 votes alone would send AJ out. So he knows they haven't properly split at that point. So he has to play the idol. I'm pretty sure that's what happened with, like, this fan brains tribe who I think can properly split a vote. I think that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to do a 3-2 possible 2, but it became a 4-1-2, in which case that 2 could win out. So then he has to protect himself. I think that is what happened.
So you're saying if it's a 3-2-2, AJ is in danger there?
No, if it's a 3-2-2, then they split the vote perfectly. He wouldn't need to play his idol. If they put 3 votes, then there's 2 still votes on Nunan. Then on the re-vote, they'll win out. So he wouldn't have needed to play his idol had there been just a 3 Paulie votes, 2 Nunan votes, and just in case Paulie's voted with Nunan, then it's just a 2-2, but then it's a AJ Nunan re-vote and Nunan goes home. But because that didn't happen, they put 4 votes on Paulie. Actually, Paulie would decide 2-1 to take out AJ, so you have to play your idol because they didn't properly split the vote.
Gotcha, because Kristen and Paulie both voted for Nunan, right? So they were just assuming, like, in case Paulie had voted for AJ along with Nunan, then that would have been the insurance policy. It was like, he needs to play his idol at that point.
If you see it as a 5-person majority with Kristen, who did seem pretty locked in with them, then it's a 5-2 majority, which means that you split 3-2-2. But you don't split 4-1 because that's not a split. So they didn't split the vote. So he had to play his idol once Paulie played his idol because he was about to negate unsplit numbers that would give him full power to decide who went home.
I think, like, an undertold story here, and I kind of touch on it a little bit, is that Paulie and Kristen are locked in. Like they like, like,
I don't know.
Well, to me, it felt like
he's locked in. I don't feel like Kristen's locked in.
That's a fair point. I don't think she should be, honestly, because she was pretty much she was like hanging out with Ursula on the bottom of this extra, this alliance that Nunan and Paulie had. But he goes to her and he's like, "Hey, it's me and you." And then when he goes to pitch himself to the other alliance, he says, "You have 2 lions and me and Kristen." He keeps making sure that Kristen's not far. And so I'm thinking that, okay, cool. And so when Kristen flips, I'm thinking you have to assume that, well, I guess it looks to them like they're flipping together, but you're right. If Kristen is flipping on her own and Paulie is the extra person there, which he should feel like the extra person there. I mean, the audacity of you telling somebody to their face, "Yeah, we're splitting the vote on you," and then count the votes out directly in front of them. You're begging Paulie to play his idol. You're begging him to do it. You're daring him to do it because what the hell was that? They
accidentally also told him he was the primary. Kaylin did that. So there was a lot of red flags.
Kaylin was like, "Wait, I thought we were voting for you, Paulie. What are you talking about?" I was like, "Kaylin, come on, man." The gameplay this season, Shannon, what has been the good gameplay of the season so far? Because if you want to talk about the Women's Alliance, there were moments where I'm like, what is that? When we talk about, the Rich stuff, the Mac stuff, honestly, we were high on Miles at certain points. And we're like, these last couple episodes, I'm like, Miles, baby, shut up. What are you doing? So I don't know. It feels like everybody's just doing whatever they want right now. And then hopefully into the merge, it'll like acquiesce into something, because we haven't even talked about AJ. That I just don't understand what's going on. Good gameplay, or just like this chaos that we're dealing with right now, whatever it is, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, AJ is impossible to defend at this point, and I've done my share of AJ defense, but we'll talk about it. Let's talk about Paulie though, because as you talk about this, I think an untold story is how much Paulie's trying to work with Kristen and how much Kristen has defected to the Brains and left Paulie behind. But I do want to talk about how I think this was handled not its best from Paulie. I feel like Paulie's going to play his idol. He's in too much danger, and he does such a conservative thing to vote with them, and doesn't try to make waves when, like, this is when you're going to be safe. Like, if you're so scared that you're going to play your idol, then try and do something and then either play it or maybe you can protect it. So I'd love to workshop what we think Paulie could have done with this, Brawn minority. And I do think it's not going to work. I'll explain the plan and then I'll explain why it wouldn't have worked. But then also I think it was worth a try. Paulie,
hold on. Hold on before you do that. So, like, in theory, right? Paulie has his idol, because this is where I'm trying to watch the show and put myself in his place, right? You have an idol, you know that Kaylin's let it slip, but you're probably getting votes here. You're going to play the idol. Shouldn't you be telling your allies that you're going to do this as well? Wouldn't you want a voting block or whatever y'all are going to put on whoever? Like, if it's AJ, fine. We know that won't work because AJ has the idol as well. Like, if you play one, he's going to play his. But
we know that, but they don't know that.
Right, because Nunan is saying, why didn't y'all vote with me? It wouldn't have made any difference. He played his idol, but still, the three of us together, plus an idol, let's say he doesn't have one. We didn't.
Yeah.
Why are we voting with them? We had a chance to make a move. Is that the conservative move you're talking about?
That is 100% it. I mean, at the end of the day, you have a bronze minority who is three people who have two idols. This should, like, the fact that they have two idols, but the third member of the minority goes is an unfortunate gap for this brawn minority. Now, I want to say that this hinges all on Kristen, because if it's two people with one idol and it's just Paulie and Nunan against a 5-person majority who can split, you're done. Paulie does just have to play on himself and there's nothing you can do. But he didn't even try to get Kristen over to a powerful brawn minority with two idols of 3, with fractures in the brains that you can try and exploit. Now, I want to talk about what Haley Leake did, the wonderful Haley Leake in the first Brains V Brawn. Haley Leake came into a similar situation where she was in the minority of a swap, and the bronze majority had a lot of fractures. And for reasons, challenge-related reasons, of her brain 4, 2 were immune for the challenge. And that meant there was her and another guy, Baden, who were vulnerable. Sorry for spoiling this whole season for you. You're going to watch it soon.
No, listen, I need to know.
She came into the brains majority and she said, I have an idol. At Tribal, we're playing Scissors, Paper, Rock. Me or Baden I'm going to play it on me or Baden. I don't know who. I'm going to do Scissors, Paper, Rock at Tribal Council. You can take the 50-50 shot on one of us. You can't split. It was 5-4. Or you can crack. And they cracked like an egg. And she didn't play the idol. And it afforded her a majority for the rest of the swap. And then an idol she could use at a later date. And then she went on to great success. And there was no pitfalls in any of it. So I think that if you can have Kristen, if you can try and bring Kristen over to the fact that 2 of 3 of you, it's not even a 50-50 chance, it's even better odds than that, are going to be safe, and you go to the brains majority and say 2 of 3 are going to be safe, who's going to flip? If you can bring Kristen over to that, because it all hinges on Kristen, I think people crack. But the thing that it won't work, unfortunately, we know, they don't know, but we know that AJ has an idol. And that's unfortunate because it means that if Logan flips and he's the target, at that point you've alerted him to it, because you have to do it in this public way so that someone comes to you, so that they all feel like they could be a target. Whoever gets to them first might make you the target, so you have to get there first. But if Logan does that, AJ knows to play the idol, so yes, that wouldn't work. And AJ isn't as triggered to flip because he knows, like, okay, if they get it right and they, they protect it like themselves in this group, because we can't split if they're all together, but if they do protect themselves, 66% chance I can just play my idol if I'm the target. So he's not as like incentivized to flip, and if he's the target, he's protected. So that idol really messes them up. But he might flip on Logan just to save his idol, so that he doesn't have the risk of not even his life, but playing his idol. So I think there was something there. I do think if AJ flips, it also necessitates Kristen flipping on Logan. I don't know that she will do that. I think that's a huge credit to Logan's social positioning, which has been amazingly defensive, in the fact that when AJ goes to her and he's like, I literally can't get rid of you, he's right, because she's so insulated. But there had to have been something here. They don't know how badly AJ's idol, because they don't know it exists, would mess up those plans. Surely, two idols in a 3-person technical minority, surely you at least, I'll talk about Kristen's position, but surely you at least give Kristen the chance and the choice to go with this minority, really mess some things up, and go, to a Brains majority who are just itching to crack and make him crack, instead of trying to curry favor Paulie. He knows he's at least at best a split. He's actually the target on the bottom. He's having to use his idol. He's incredibly vulnerable now. He doesn't even vote for AJ. What was achieved? It was so conservative. It was so defensive. All he has is the ability to push AJ in front of him, or a non-elim, or merging at some point soon. That's what will save him. It's so vulnerable. I would have loved to see him try and get Kristen over. And we do see that Kristen doesn't really trust them. But also we see that she doesn't want to work with them, because he's like, Kristen, we'll use your idol as leverage. Imagine if he goes to her and he's like, in trust, I'm showing you I have an idol. We're going to use both as leverage. She probably wants to work with him more if he's trying to give her this equal offering of something that he's actually sacrificing, rather than we're going to use your idol and they can do it together. Would Kristen have done it? Should she have done it? I don't know. We can talk about it. But there's something there that isn't just laying down and dying. And I don't think I love that.
Yeah, it was like, okay, the two of us are jumping ship. Nunan is a sinking ship. We're leaving, and we have Kristen's idol. I'm like, Paulie, come on. We have 2 idols, and if we take our 2 idols, there's only 3 of us. They don't know who we're gonna play it on, and we can just be like, yeah, we might vote for Karen tonight. I don't know. And Karen's gonna be like, oh, let's take out AJ. What are we doing? That will give them the incentive to flip. Even taking out AJ, honestly, is a little cute, it's all right, whatever. It's not hot, you know what I'm saying? It's fine. He's a big threat, but if you want to start a commotion, you don't take out the one person that everybody would be kind of okay with going. It's like AJ is painting such a big target on his back that you're like, oh no, we could all get behind this. They're talking about integrity. They're talking about don't you want to play with somebody who's not a state? Nobody cares about that. It's like, yeah, somebody will take him out eventually. Someone's going to use the same argument to target him. Try to go after somebody who is more insulated and see if they crack, because they're going to panic because they don't know that they're at the bottom, right? Put them at the bottom and see where they go. You talked about Haley's move. We always talk about the flaw of the 3 amigos or whatever, because it's like, oh yeah, we're all voting for Philip. It's like, well, that doesn't help. Okay, so let's vote for Philip. But boom, Philip's gone. Now game continues. It's like, no, we're voting for one of you. Now, save yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of thing you need to do. So it was fun to watch. Paulie's an interesting player here, because I would love to see Paulie win this game. But playing the way he's playing right now, it's like there are big moments where I'm like, yes, Paulie, you got it. And then there are other times where I'm like, Paulie, what's up? What are we doing here? There's a cool moment where AJ comes over and says, Nunan, you're not looking for an idol. She says, you broke my leg. And he's like, oh, well, Paulie, you're not looking for an idol. Paulie's like, I'm moral support. I'm thinking, Paulie, that's not a good look. They're splitting the vote on you. He knows that that you're splitting the vote on him, because he split it with you right there. He talked about it. You should be constantly looking for an idol if you know that the vote is getting split on you in any way, because you don't know if you're in the minority or the majority of that vote. They're telling you that you're the minority of that vote, but they could be lying, obviously.
Well, they actually said majority as well.
Yeah, and they also let it slip.
They really Freudian majority. Yeah.
And so, Paulie, at least give the illusion that you're still fighting. We've never seen him not fighting. The way he was chasing around that one guy, I can't even remember his name. Cash? Was it Cash? Yeah.
Nash.
Chasing around Nash. Woo. Been a month.
Hey, he has the second most confessionals. Well, he did last week. Yeah.
He did last week. The way they chased Nash down. Remember when Nash had his fake idol? Paulie's running. To make sure, what you got there? Now all of a sudden, Paulie yeah, I guess I'll just sit here with Nunan for moral support as I vote her out. Chill out. You gotta. It's like he took his foot off the gas a little too much for me right there.
Yeah, and as well, the best part is, as you said, it has to be a blanket threat, so that everyone feels scared. And if you can get Kristen, and even if AJ just doesn't want to use his idol. So he's like, oh, instead of 66% chance that I have to use my idol, I'll just come over with you and vote out Logan, which I've obviously thought about doing every single day for the last 3 weeks. Then the best part of that is that you use none of the idols. You're like, oh, we're going to protect ourselves. And then you have the majority because you've cracked them. And then you don't even have to use the idols, and you have a majority. There's so much to gain. I do think a lot of that, again, is contingent on Kristen, and we'll talk about that for her. But there's so much to gain. And I do think it's about that blanket threat, which is unfortunate, because there could be something to be said about going to Logan secretly, giving her all the information that's verifiable, real information that they do use about how AJ has wanted to flip, showing her the idols, but then she doesn't have the threat on herself to flip. If it's okay, well, if you're voting for AJ and you're going to protect yourselves, good luck. but I don't have to be a part of it. So it's about the blanket threat. But I think AJ unfortunately has an idol for them. Logan is very socially insulated, so it does make it really tricky. But I do think like go to Kristen and like try, and it's worth the shot. So I would have really liked to see that. But let's talk about it for Kristen, because again, if the other side of Kristen, the game is lost, they can split 5-2. You only have one idol. You have to play it on yourself. And that's what the split I think was meant to be, like a 3-2-2. She says she trusts them the least, but again, they don't give her anything. So they don't try, I think, to bring her back. But I actually also think what's also unfortunate for Paulie in trying to, I still think you should try, but I still think what's unfortunate as well is that if that's a plan of like going all in, like kamikaze with Brawn, I do think that staying with Brain is like a fine option for her, because I feel like she's at the bottom. You have Paulie and Nunan in front of you. You have an idol. This is kind of like where Max was at last week, where I thought that it was fine to flip, because it's like you have fodder, your rounds forward, you're closer to the merge. Like they're already at 14 people. That's where they merged last time. Like, yeah, now they're at 14. Like they're not going to merge in the middle of the week, but they'll probably merge on Sunday. If there's not a non-elim tomorrow night, it'll be the next night, I'm sure. So you've got possible non-elims. You have an idol. You have AJ in front. Like she actually is like pretty good to go where she's at. So I think that is unfortunate, but I still think that she wasn't even given the choice. So that's my issue. But I also think that flipping to the Brains fully is where she's at. And she was never given another choice, but like it's fine for her. And that does fully doom Paulie and Nunan. But I actually think this was a good episode for Kristen. She keeps her idol and she's making the merge. Like I can't see how she goes before, she probably AJ goes first. Paulie's going to go first. She has an idol. Like I think she's got like room to move.
Yeah, if AJ starts making people walk the plank again, then I'm sure Paulie would be first on his list of people to get out, obviously. And the tribe would probably more likely, if not Paulie, they're going to go after AJ at that point. I think Kristen has socially she socially lapped AJ. I think this was a horrible episode for his equity in the game. It's just like AJ, like this, he's been playing so brash and reckless, and I don't know, we don't see a lot of this in US Survivor, but is this the King George effect, where it's just like, no, I'm just gonna announce what I'm doing to everybody and you're just gonna like it and it's gonna work out and everything's gonna be okay? I
think they're also drugging them with truth serum, but I think it's probably both things.
Yeah, it's gotta be because there's no way you should be like openly talking, and I know we will get into it, but openly talking about how we're trying to throw the challenge and then get mad at the other side because they don't just admit that they're throwing the challenge. Like so it's like, AJ, what are we doing here? What are we even doing? And to stand at tribal council while people are calling you a liar and manipulative and a snake and like saying that you can't be trusted and be like, what? Me? I'm so transparent. I mean, I told y'all all my plans except throwing the challenge. Yeah, except that one. But aside from that, y'all know what the bottom line is. Every time I was like, AJ, come on, man. This is bad. This is not good at all.
Yeah, people are saying everything. Like even like Paulie is backing up Nunan so hard at tribal council, but then will still vote for Nunan. Like at that point, and you're playing your idol, like you're safe. Like at that point, ironically, that would have been the numerical difference, idol aside, for AJ to go. Like you're not cozying up to the Brain, you're not cozying up to AJ. You're still, calling him out at tribal council, but you won't vote for him. Like I don't understand why that was the line. Like if he doesn't have an idol and your vote is the reason Nunan goes over AJ, but you also haven't built goodwill with AJ because you're backed her up and calling him out. I just don't think I understand that. I feel like it was so conservative about cozying up to them, but then also he was calling AJ out. So I don't feel like it even achieved that. Yeah, and I also don't even credit cozying up, and I don't even think he did it. But I wouldn't even like it if he did, and he didn't even do it well. You know what I mean? It was so conservative.
Yeah, but also bad. Like conservative is one thing, but like to get to the tribal council and basically like force this man to play his idol. Like he probably plays it anyway after you play it, right? After you play yours, he probably plays it anyway. But he definitely plays it if y'all are spending the entire tribal council going, yeah, AJ, you suck. We should all just vote out AJ. Why don't we get together and vote? Look, y'all, this is our chance to band together and get rid of the manipulative ones. Like they're like rallying the votes against him right there, and then you didn't even vote. Like it's like, all right, I'll vote the other way. Like
I don't mind it for Nunan, because I don't think Nunan has another option. Like Nunan can only hope he doesn't have an idol and that people just get so incensed that she like pushes them there. But for Paulie, who's going to be safe and knows at that point he's playing his idol, I think like if you're gonna push it, at least hope that like again, like the majority fall on you, which would have happened. And if he doesn't have an idol, you've put enough votes on AJ with your own vote that he goes home. Or, which I don't like, you just like stay completely out of it and you try to be like a good brain soldier, which I hate, but like he didn't even do that. And I would hate that.
Right.
But like, I think if you're going to throw it at AJ, vote for AJ as well.
Vote for AJ.
It would have been beyond painful if AJ didn't have his idol. And that was the reason that Nunan goes home 2-1 when AJ could have gone home 2-1. Like for that one vote. And especially because they seem to understand, like, yeah, Paulie just won't vote for AJ. And especially because it doesn't piss off any other brains and you've already been throwing everything at AJ. Like, what do you lose? And it could have been the difference. Again, it could have been the difference because they seem to split wrong. But that's how much power your one vote can have in a 7-person tribe when you know you're negating some. Like, you're talking about AJ, I'd still vote for AJ. That's the Paulie overall. I think we've discussed. But let's talk about AJ, who, again, impossible to defend what AJ has done over the last week. A couple of days ago, I said on the feedback show with Ferris, like, it's all going to come down. I said it with Mike. I think we've talked about it. We talked about the whole last week. Like, the whole hostage plan and everything that AJ did, even coming in, flipping from the get-go. Some things I defended, some things I hated. But I said that it was all in the interest of investing in Paulie and Nunan. And I said that we'll see how it goes based on A, how much he can retain Paulie and Nunan in the game and how much they come through for him, how much this was worth it, because it was all for Paulie and Nunan to the loss of every other bond. But then you're telling me that the second that the brains can't make it work on what was a 4-5 minority, it was pretty dicey. You knew that they were pretty split anyway, like a 7-2 split, even with an idol. It ended up being 8-1. Wouldn't have been unfathomable. You know that this is a split brains minority. It probably wasn't going to go well, but it was worth a shot. I thought that he wanted, which seems to be the plan, I thought he wanted the brains on the other side to win the day. And I thought he would have passed the idol to Miles had Miles not got his own to do it. And I think it's pretty clear that all of that is true. Once the brains can't do it, he's like, oh, we can't have you throwing anymore, to the point where we now have to throw. No, you are way too far in the hole. Like at that point, it would have been nice had they won the day, but they didn't. All you can do is maybe pass your idol to Miles to save him individually if they happen to lose. But you certainly shouldn't throw Paulie Nunan, who you've invested all of your social capital in, under the bus. And not only just throw them under the bus, but like reverse over them multiple times for not just wanting them out, but throwing the challenge to get them out. You're way too far in the hole for that. It's so inconsistent. And I was telling my brother a bit about this, about how apparently mixed strategies in poker is like meant to be the way to play because you keep people on their toes. But that type of inconsistency in Survivor makes you so untrustworthy, and it's giving me a headache. So those are the two things. And it's like, AJ, I really like you, but it's beyond defense at this point. You've burned everything and everyone. Like, what can I say in your defense?
Yeah, this is bad because not only are you, like you said, you're sacrificing, you did all this for Nunan and Paulie, and now you're just like throwing that all away. Whatever, fine. But just like an episode ago, you were like bragging about how you were sacrificing the people on your old tribe. You know, you're like, well, we're going to hold them hostage, you know, and they're like, what about us? I don't know what to tell you. You know, Zara's over there like, so just F me, right? Yeah, I guess so. Don't know what to tell you. We're moving on. If you got to throw it, you got to throw it, but you got to go. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait. You can't have it both ways, you know, because now who is going to trust you? Who would ever trust you? Why would they trust you? Everybody should be looking at you like a liability. And then again, to get to the end of the episode and be like, what do you mean? Like, I've been so transparent with everybody. No, you haven't. This is crazy. And then the way he threw the challenge. For the love of God, at least pretend like you're not. Just pretend. But to get up there with Ben and to be looking at each other like, you throwing it? Yeah, you throwing it? Yeah. So now what? Who's going to win it? Ben wins the challenge after it felt like 20 minutes of them just looking at each other, missing on purpose. And like,
JLP threatened them. Yeah.
Right. And honestly, why didn't they go with the threat? He said, just go, both of y'all go home and vote, go and vote somebody out. I'm like, it seems like that's what y'all want. Y'all seem to be very keen on voting somebody out. Why didn't they take that offer? Instead, Ben wins the challenge. And then they ask AJ, were you throwing? And he's like, yeah, we both were. And Ben's like, I don't know what that means. Who is we? He's like, what? He's like, oh, we speak French now? I don't know. We is not here. That's not me. And he's like, so why are you hiding the fact that you were throwing it? And he just walks off. Ben's like, bye, girl. Like, it was so funny because why would I admit that? Why? You're telling you just because you want everybody to know that you're targeting certain people and that they can't trust you and that you don't want to work with them. The merge is coming, or at least a swap or something. Something is coming soon. And all these people that you burned are going to be looking at you as an easy target. Ben didn't want any parts of that. He left them hanging.
Yeah, I feel like he really gaslit AJ in a way that was so funny because he had just openly admitted to him they had this whole conversation, and then Ben's like, throwing. I don't know her. It was amazing. I feel like I would call Productions bluff. Like, because you have some leverage here. Like, they don't want a double elimination because then they're going to need another non-elimination. It would be a big moment, but if they were to send them both to tribal council, I doubt 2 people go home. I bet like there's 2 votes and like they make fire. For like I think that's how I would pivot on the fly. Like sending 2 people home once we've already had a medivac and we haven't even had a second non-elim yet. Like it's going to scrub the whole schedule more than it even already has been. So I feel like I would call Productions bluff on that. But the issue with Ben is that if that's going to happen in like the game of chicken with AJ, I think AJ is going to win. Like they were both really brazenly throwing. How did Ben get away with that? Jesse was even like acting the fool. So I don't know. It gave him some plausible deniability somehow, but I do feel like you don't want to get into a game of chicken with AJ, who is somewhat unhinged and will probably take it to its extremes. But I think that I would use that leverage with production and be like, hey, send us both the tribal council. You don't like changing your plans. I know that. And maybe try and like, keep running with it, because I do think that this was the time to throw for Ben. I was against it last episode because I'm like, look how dicey it was, and they pulled it off well, but it was only a 5-4 majority. They couldn't technically split, although they do bring them over, but like you can't trust that split necessarily. They do it well with Max, but this is the time to throw because you've just like flushed out all the idols. They didn't know they flushed out 2. Had another brain had an idol, you'd think, not Max, but like had Laura or Zara, had an idol you think they'd play it, or Max got sent home with one, which he did. Miles played his. Like, this is the time where they've had the least time to refine the idol, and you would like to just take that shot quickly and get yourself down to splittable numbers on the 5-2. The issue is that, and if you're going to keep losing and get down to 1 person, then you can't split again. Or if you get down to no people and have to start eating your own, that would suck too. So there are some pitfalls, but if you're going to throw it anytime, this probably was the time for Ben. So I think that it was good that he did it, but I wouldn't have backed out at it because I don't think 2 people are going home tonight.
Yeah. I would have. I'm telling you, that was my biggest question was like, why aren't y'all just taking it? Y'all both wanted to lose, right? He's giving you the out. He's saying,
well, they want to lose to save their allies on the other side. If they're also going to go to tribal council, that would defeat the purpose. But I just don't think that production want to do that. Like, be like, make me,
let's do it.
Both fine, but both go to tribal council. You don't want that either. Otherwise, you would have put in a double tribal to begin with. But you have your schedule, and you don't want to mess up. You don't want to mess up the schedule.
I'm sure somebody called JLP and was like, "Hey, chill out. We can't really."
No, it's not that. JLP, I know for a fact, production are in JLP. They're like, tell them we're both going to tribal. But it's the kind of like threat that a parent makes, but they don't actually like.
Like, I will turn this tribal council around. Yeah,
but you're not actually going to. You're not actually.
That was like when Rob
was my cats all the time. I'm like, I'm counting the 3, but I'm not. They're gonna get treats anyway. I want them.
Shannon,
fine, my love. Yeah.
It's like when Rob yelled at us during the draft. Like, I will stop this. I was like, no, you won't.
Exactly.
We're live on YouTube, sir. Stop.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Exactly. We have the leverage here. Actually, you on a podcast, don't you? 100%. So I would have maybe taken the you'd be like, yeah, all right, let's go to tribal. You don't want that either. Let's see how it goes.
See what happens.
Yeah. But AJ, I just
AJ.
Now that it's gone to this point and the Brains haven't beat Brawn on the other side, your options are limited, but they don't include burning Paulie and Nunan. Your options are try to win the challenge, and if you do win the challenge, you can pass an idol to Miles to try and just save Miles, try getting Miles to like a non-elim where maybe you can like kidnap him across, whatever that non-elim is going to be, probably in the next couple of nights. You have Logan in the hope you can take out Logan, which I think will be actually really tough because I don't think that Kristen will turn on Logan, but you can try to take out like a Logan. It's going to be dicey. But you put yourself in a dicey position, but you don't reverse over the plan. You are way too far in the hole, AJ. So, yeah. And I also think the other thing that's crazy about it is he's like, oh, I actually wanted Brains to win on the other side. I wasn't dooming my allies. Why didn't you tell that to the Karens and Logans last week when they were so upset that you were throwing them to the wolves? He's like, oh, the whole point was that I thought that they would win out. Now, the only issue with that is that you'd have to tell them about the idol. Because it's like my plan was to pass the idol. I'm sure that was his plan. He's never stated it. It's fan fiction in my mind. And you don't want to tell them about the idol. But maybe you should have. What did you think about the fact that they're so mad that he didn't tell them about the idol?
I think that the way he had been carrying himself in these last few moments of the episode is just like, no, I am a good ally. What are you talking about? I haven't lied to y'all. I've been very upfront about my plans and And I've, he's kind of on his high horse a little bit. Like, tell your story, Nunan, Paulie. Okay, that's okay. Now that we know that's unbelievable, let's move on to the honest side where I am telling the truth, blah, blah, blah. And you know, it's to the detriment of Logan, who really wants him out. But, you know, they're like, no, let's pretend like AJ is with us 100% and that he is honest and all this other stuff. And now that we find out about Idol, we go, ooh, AJ, it seems like you're not being a great ally. Now you're on the bottom and it's your fault. And we have a reason why we can flip on you tomorrow. You know, like if something happens this time, it's like, well, AJ, you did keep that Idol from us. And, you know, why? The Karen kills me because she goes, I would have told you my mind. I was like, no, you wouldn't have. He's like, you should like, oh, I would have. Yeah, I would have. You can't tell me I could. I wouldn't. I would have. Honestly, I would. I believe that in my soul. And we know you wouldn't have because you didn't tell us. And now we don't trust you. I think they were looking for a reason. I think Logan has been saying, I want him out. And Karen's like, yeah, that's cute, but no, you know, like she's kind of doing the same move that Laura was pulling with Rich, right? Where it's like, oh, we really need Rich out. I need Rich out. We need Rich out today. And she's like, yeah. So not Rich this time though. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna lose Rich. Like Karen's doing the same exact thing. Logan is coming to her like, if I'm telling you every week this man is saying my name, Nunan says, hey, he said to vote you out again. She looks right at Karen, says, Karen, you don't see this. And Karen's like, yeah, I just don't know. I think we still gotta, you know, I think it's still gotta be Paulie. I think it's still gotta be Nunan. I don't know. It really puts like the highlight on him being somebody you cannot trust. And now he has proven himself to be untrustworthy, where he can't say this was for the greater good. You know, I was holding them hostage for us. I was doing this for us. This was a you move, and now we can hold it against you.
Yeah, I think like a defensive idol that you just use on yourself that you haven't told anyone about isn't that untrustworthy usually, but it very much, I agree with you, like was the straw that broke the camel's back on like everything else that AJ is doing. Like he gave them so much verifiable information, like true information to use against him. And he's like, it's just so unbelievable. It's like parts of that is true, but that's because what you've been doing is so wacky. But all of it was true, other than the fact that like he wanted Logan out that round. Like they say, at the Rich vote, he came and he wanted to vote for Logan. And it's so verifiable because he's wanted to vote for Logan in the past and because they have real information about how close Logan and Laura are, like all of the stuff that he had to have told them, like he gives them all of that. So yeah, I think usually if he's anyone else, like if Karen stands up and plays an idol here, no one has the same reaction. But because he was on thin freaking ice anyway, I think that this looks really, really bad. So I do want to credit Karen and all of the Brains, including Logan, even for holding it down. And Kaylin, get you a friend who will defend you. Like Kaylin tried to defend AJ through this episode, even with the challenge throwing, through all of the dicey stuff he was doing. Kaylin was like really defending him. But I think that for all of them, even including Logan, especially because Logan is so socially insulated and will win that war with AJ, who's so socially behind her and like has a Kristen, and I think like is defensively just locked in from a social standpoint where it's going to be really, really hard to get her and she's so protected. I think it's right for all of them to take out the Brawn numbers and then maybe come for AJ. You know, that table setting vote to really lock down the number so they don't get to like a 3-3 here where Kristen could flip on the Brawn. And even if that doesn't hurt like a Logan, she might lose like a Karen and other allies that are important to her. So AJ has had trouble in the past with the table setting vote before flipping. I think they all do well here to stick with Brawn, but know where AJ is at and know that they'll have time to get rid of him, especially now that he doesn't have an idol, which was unplanned. But I do think that's the right thing for all of them, even somehow Logan, because if she takes out even like even though Kristen doesn't really seem to trust Paulie and Nunan, if she takes out an AJ here, it might be really tempting for Kristen to flip back and like take out a Karen. So I just think it puts her allies in jeopardy. So yeah, I think that it was the right thing here for her to keep it together, because even she's talking to Kristen about it, and Kristen seems like she will flip with Logan on AJ. So it feels like that's the four that could have done it. But I think and even on the split, she wouldn't have even needed Kristen. But she could have, like, it was a 3-2-2, and she seemed to be on the primary for Paulie, so it could have been a 2-2-3. But obviously, I think the right thing to stick with the Brains.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens next when it comes to AJ, now that he has placed himself on the outs, really, like where he didn't have to do this. Like he really did this on his own. Like he just actively was like, nope, I'll just be on the bottom. You know, I'll go work with these people who are on the bottom. I'm determined to do it no matter what. And now I have to vote them out. Everybody he tried to flip with, he has voted out. You know, pour one out for Rich. You know, he tries to go to him, it doesn't work, and he's like, all right, you can go. And now he's run out of people to flip to, and everybody knows he's the one who's trying to make these moves. So I'm just interested to see, does he do the max and just immediately go find another idol? I would love to see it, because I think that as wild as AJ is playing, and as fun as it would be to see him get his comeuppance, I think he's too big of a character to lose, right? I think the game is much more fun when you have somebody like AJ in it. Fun for us to watch. They're probably miserable playing with him, but fun for us to watch. So I'm hoping that he's able to kind of pull himself out of this hole, or at least get a non-limb to where he gets to go to the other side and play alongside with Miles or something. I think that could be entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be fair, in this episode, even when he's doing so much, the only vote against him is Nunan. It's like I say it's 3-2-2, but it was not even that. Well, I mean, obviously the split was screwed up, but like Paulie doesn't even vote for him. So it's like the brains are still protecting him, even though they know they know what kind of slippery player he's at. And I think that the Brawn, like a Paulie, wasn't even trying to really get a flip on him. Like he was really just Nunan alone. So he's been protected till now, but I think possibly that's run out. But I do think, for me, the way I see it going is like, yes, do I see them all turning on him next? I think I do, but I bet like that's not a limb, and he's just gonna like his reign of terror will continue.
Question. You're saying they messed up the split, but who messed it up? Do you think it was?
We don't know.
Think it was? Well, that's the thing. He says who cooked it, and Karen says you did. You did.
Well,
and
I think just like he messed up the
split.
idol. No, I think he means like you cooked your game. I don't know who it was. It doesn't seem like it was Logan because she wasn't in that conversation. So I think Logan was meant to be on the primary for Paulie, and then one of Kaylin, Karen, or AJ was meant to be on Nunan, but was on Paulie.
Yeah. The lie they told Paulie was guys on Paulie and girls on Nunan, and so
but they could. That was with Paulie, but they couldn't do that because that would split their 4-2-2, and they have to split their 4-3-1.
Yeah. So I don't know who it was. Maybe we'll find out next episode.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it was Logan. I mean, and then when I give the cheesy points, I'm like, I don't know who screwed up the split, but we don't know. It wouldn't have been Logan. That's why I say like, so Logan's in the prime position. She could have pulled a Operation Italy, but she even without Kristen, she could be like, hey, Paulie Nunan, I'm meant to be on the 3. It's meant to be a 3-2-2, but now it'll be a 2-2-3. But actually, it would have been a 3-3-1. Because they voted for Paulie, but then Paulie plays the idol, which he wouldn't have even. I mean, maybe he doesn't, because then he doesn't think he needs to, because they have a 3-2-2, and then they lose anyway because the split was wrong. But anyway, this was all fan fiction, but I think a lot of fun. I'm having a 7-person vote is so fun. What a fun time! Also, 3 idols for 7 people is insane. I'm really glad we've burned. We had 5 idols in the game an episode ago, which was insane, and I hated it as much as I love the ways they got the idols. But now we have 1, and that's better. Let's just keep it chill. Not like overloading the game with idols.
So they're not going to replace the idols that we lost today. At least one of them. No, at least one of the ones we lost.
They can replace 1 idol. They can replace 1, but I don't think they should. Maybe 2, but I don't think they should replace 4 that we've lost in the last, episode and a half.
They bragged about it in this season on Survivor. We have 5 idols. I was like, do you hear how you sound? That's unhinged. JLP. What are we doing? There's a
lot. Let's talk about just a little bit. I mean, what's happening on the other tribe? I thought it was a little rich. Not Rich the player, and not Rich like Kent was, but Rich that the girls would go to Miles and be like, stop talking. And he's like, counterpoint, you voted for me, so I don't care what you say. And I was like, yeah, thank you for saying that, Miles. Yeah, that's fair.
He needed to say that, because Miles, I'm just like, Miles, you gotta chill, because you're obviously trying to, like, we see that you're trying to flip, and you're being very blatant about it, and you're like, your strat chats have been driving people crazy as it is. It doesn't even look like the other side is very receptive, and I think that's the thing that's annoying Zara, is that like, these are not your friends. Like, all the things you're doing to throw us under the bus, it's not even assisting you. Like, it's like, sure, you're fighting for, like, you don't want to be the last one, and I think he's doing the right thing. I think he should definitely try to be like pushing them below him on the pecking order for sure, but he's doing it so blatantly and disrespectfully to their face. There's like, now we know we don't have you, and I think him and Zara were relatively close. And so it's like,
she voted for him.
Yeah, I mean, I say relatively, but I think that like now it's just like, no, there's nothing we can do. Like you're kind of like, you're making yourself look untrustworthy to them too, and you're making the block hot for us. And so I was very happy that he pointed out that like, hey, y'all started this. When y'all voted for me, all bets are off at that point. I can do what I want, but it's like a little over the top, almost. It's like, I couldn't remember who it was, but they asked the question like, oh, who could you see work? And he's like, I'll tell you. And he just like interrupts and starts going on a whole monologue about all the strategic moments and stuff like that. I was like, ugh, Miles. I understand why him and AJ are working together so well. They kind of got some shared DNA in there.
Well, I see what he's trying to do, because it's kind of like, what would be the point of getting rid of me? Like, again, I have no one other than AJ, and like, is AJ along for the game? And like, do you even want to be
He's
attached to AJ?
crazy.
Compared to like
Yeah.
Laura has these connections. Like Laura's a way bigger threat. I think in ways like Laura does have Logan, but we know the graduates were winning. Miles also had Kaylin. We know they have a really good relationship. Miles had Karen. Like, he's more insulated than he's making it seem to them, but he should try and look like a floating number who has nothing so that they can save him. So I get what he's trying to do. I just like, it's very, very hard. The Brawn Monolith are not good at socializing with the brains. They say that they think of them as vermin. Even the way that Jesse dismissed Miles's idol moment. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
He said,
but again, they're
I had a big idol
from
moment.
a
Did you?
perspective. Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
was it big?
From a game perspective, it's like, how are any of them going home anytime soon? But they're also like, it's not, we don't really know them, and all we know of them is that they like keep pushing down the underdog in like calling him dish boy and stuff. Like, I hate it. But they're so long for the game. So unfortunate. Like, I'm sure, like, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand plot armor anymore, because I didn't expect Nunan to go here either. But it's just a bit unfortunate.
I'm torn though, because I kind of like how they just won't give him anything. It's like,
really?
yeah, like I think from like a social standpoint, like I hate to see it, right? Like they play nice, right? Like let's we've seen Miles has been through a lot, okay? Like another person being mean to Miles, I don't really need that. But as far as gameplay goes, he did a big thing. But you're my opponent. Why should I be gassing you up? Obviously, that was nothing. You were like, okay, fine. You played the idol correctly. Whatever. You're still on the bottom. Get used to it. It's like, I understand the urge to just be like, congratulations. Like, I'm sure you're going to win the day. It's like, hey, make sure he understands that, like, this is not your winning move. This is not something that you're going to get to the end and be like, and then I did. It's like, hey, we don't care about that. Think like Xander and 41. It's like, he does all this. He has like this advantage, and he's won these challenges, and they're like, okay, Erica's right there, so now what? It's like, wait, but what about all the stuff I did? It's like, yeah, we don't care. Like you can disarm people who are perceived threats as long as you don't make them a threat. If you announce that they're a threat, a la a Rachel, and then just let them stay around and be like at the end sitting next to them, they're like, oh yeah, they're not a big threat. It's like, yeah, they are. You all announced it a long time ago. But if you disarm it very early on and say like, the things you're doing are not impressive to us, then I think that it goes a long way to making sure that you stay on the bottom, but then also you don't have a lot of win equity at the end.
Yeah, it's also, he's not wrong, because while Miles saved himself, he didn't get out his target, which was Kate at the time, and everyone turned on him, all his allies turned on him, and he was completely left out of the vote alone. So it is correct. I think it's just for us as viewers, obviously, for him as his opponent, okay, sure. But I mean, I definitely think as an opponent, try not to fully alienate someone who at least might, claw through to being a jury vote at a point.
Yeah.
Like, definitely socially at that point, like, there's a fine line between giving someone like nothing, like, no opportunities and no kind of like skin in the game, but then also like completely alienating someone who'll never vote for you and who will always work against you. Yeah, like, you can't, I don't know that I ever say that like abject meanness is ever the right thing to do, as much as you can still kind of like keep someone totally locked out of the game. Like, I don't know if you have to do it in such cruel ways, like the ways they like talk, whatever, making fun of him and calling him dish boy and stuff. Like, for us as viewers, of course, we've seen Miles treated so horribly across 2 tribes at this point, and it's been a long topic of conversation, and it's just hard to watch. So as a viewer, I hate it. And even in the game, parts of it, again, are completely correct, and parts of it have utility, as you're saying, as a game player, in terms of just like shutting someone out of the game. And then parts of it are like, is Miles going to stand up there one day, as a juror, and just be like, you never treated me like a human being? And I don't know that that's what it is. Like, you can still shut someone out of the game, but have like the humanity. And I don't know that Miles has been afforded a ton of humanity in the season so far. And I think maybe that's why I really like AJ. I really do. Anyway, I like AJ. Like, I'm not saying he's playing amazingly well, but he's a character I really like. But I think that I definitely have a soft spot for the people who showed humanity to Miles. Yeah, I do. Because that was few and far between, which is crazy. And it was nice. I do. I liked it. And it buys a ton of goodwill for me. It does.
Yeah. And you start thinking about Miles as a character we've been getting since episode 1. It would just be a crazy arc for him to get to the end and potentially win the game. It would be an amazing story, because we've seen him, so downtrodden, not so much strategically, but just socially. The way people are acting toward him is like, hey, get off his neck a little bit. Let him breathe, So I want him to do well, but like knowing that AJ is his ally that he's really counting on getting back to, him, like, oh, Miles, oh, you sweet summer child. Find some other inroads, please, please. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no idol to pass anymore either. So it's looking dire for the AJ Miles duo. Let's talk about some people who are probably doing a little bit better in the Chizzy. Take it away, Jacob Sega-Weinstein and MC Color.
1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3. It's getting kind of chizzy. 3, 2, 1.
Where did you go? I was kind of, I mean, I had people I wanted to award, but I kind of struggled with where to put them. I kind of want to know where you went first. Or you want me to go first?
I want to start. No, I can go first. I want to start with Karen because I think that on her tribe, there was a lot of pressure from Logan to be like, hey, AJ needs to go. Everybody was saying AJ needs to go. She stood firm. It was like she heard all the arguments. And I know she knew that, yes, he had been targeting Logan. Logan has been saying it for episode after episode after episode. And they were kind of in a similar position when it came to Rich, in the very beginning where they wanted him out. And Laura was like, "No, he's not going anywhere." And they were starting to feel unappreciated as an alliance, right? Like, oh, like I want this person out. Why won't you give me anything? And I think Karen did a really good job of navigating that when it came to Logan. I think that Logan was starting to feel like, what's going on here? What are we doing? And I think she has to be careful that she doesn't lose her. Trying to make sure that AJ stays around. But I think you're right. I think that this was the time the table set. And they did it, and I think they did it with her as the leader of that, and so that's why I wanted to give her 3.
Okay, great. We're on a similar page. Who else?
Okay, I kind of want to give credit to Logan as well for not taking the bait. Like she could have been like, I'm fed up and I'm going, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. And me and Kristen are about to take our ball and go home. I think that's a possible move. I don't think it would have been the best thing for her to do, but I like the restraint, right? I like that she was able to do it, and I like that. Even AJ had to acknowledge that, okay, so you're insulated. Like I can't even get to you. Like, it's very common knowledge that she is socially in a good spot. And so I want to give her credit for that too.
Okay, who else?
And then one point for Ben. I've been looking for this man all season. He's finally showed up when it's time to throw challenges. But the way he did AJ in this episode was masterful. They are openly talking about how they do this challenge. And he gets down there and he's just like, oh, throwing a challenge? I would never. I have integrity. Excuse me. And it was just like, why are you lying about this? He goes, and he just leaves. He left him hanging. Where it's like AJ is so blatant about all this stuff, and it's like he's doing it. It's a big show. He's a showman. He's a fun character. But this is a game about winning friends and influencing people. And you can influence people, but if you don't win the friends, they're not going to enjoy, they're not going to want to vote for you. And I think to someone like Ben, he's not going to have the stink on him of like, oh yeah, I've been trying to hold you hostage and walk you off the plank, and throw challenges to get rid of you. Whereas AJ is not necessarily going to have, that in his favor when it comes to the end of it. And so I wanted to give him credit for that too.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, you had a lot of people. I had 5 people I was thinking about, and you gave points to 3 of them, so that makes it a bit easier for me. I will give the honorable mention to Ben. I feel like had Ben pushed it more, again, against the leverage of production, I would have, I get folding against AJ, and I also get I love the plausible deniability, and I get throwing in general, but I think, if he just, actually tried to throw, try to win that war with AJ, I would have been like, that was the right move. But I do love using integrity like that. Like when Paulie's talking about it in confessional, when people actually think that, I don't love it. And even though AJ took it far in this episode and the gameplay was throwing a challenge where someone injured their ankle in, and I get that it's bad, it still is all in the game. You are allowed to throw challenges. It's not against the rules. So I hate the confessionals I hate when people really believe in the integrity stuff and they tell us that in confessional, but when they use it like Ben did after he just did the same thing, I find it hilarious. That's the way to use it. I think that was good. I mean, obviously, to be fair, people have used integrity badly in the past in ways I hate. But I think, when you buy into it yourself, I don't like it. When you're using it and you just did the same thing, funny and good. So that was Ben. I'll give the honorable mention. I'm going to give 3 points to Karen as well for holding it down.
Okay.
It was the right moves for the brains to stay strong. So I was always giving her 3 points. 2 points I'm going to give to Kristen. She doesn't use her idol in a tricky spot. I mean, her name's never mentioned, but she gets to keep her idol. I think she's been accepted into the brains and is in a fine spot. She never had the choice of which way to go and has been adopted into the brains as the only option she had. And I think it's actually a good option for her. So I'm giving her 2 points. And then I was between Logan and Kaylin. I ended up giving a point to Kaylin as well for holding it down. He wants AJ to stay. I definitely bumped him down for giving away some of the Paulie
Okay. I was going to say, that's why he didn't get my 1 point.
Yeah,
because I was that was wild, Kaylin.
That almost made him the honorable mention. where like, yeah, he makes it really obvious to Paulie to play the idol. But I think it was obvious anyway. I think that if you're Paulie, you should be worried, though he spelled it out fully. I think it was obvious anyway, though. I'm going to give him the 1 because he even says, like, I really want AJ to stay. If anyone is going to benefit from AJ staying, it really is Kaylin, who's in this like 3 with Miles and AJ. And I think other than that is holding it down. So I gave him the 1. I'll give Logan the honorable mention because it's really impossible to get rid of her. We're seeing one of the best social defensive games I think I've seen in Logan, where she just makes new relationships where people might want to get rid of her, and she's just so insulated. And it's such an interesting game where even if she doesn't necessarily have the power, like technically on this tribe, she came in as like with Rich, who she had, not a good relationship with, on like the back foot of these Brains, and wasn't in the graduates, and they had the majority, and she just makes more allies or insulates herself more with the Brains, and it makes it when AJ goes up to her and he's like, I literally can't. I feel like he's like almost screaming it like, I want to, but I because he makes that impossible socially, because she's like, socially. So it's an honorable mention, but I'm really glad you gave her 2 points, and I think that makes the points look really good overall.
Yeah. No, this is a good one. This was a good one. I've been very impressed with Cara in this season for sure. I think that she deserved all 6 points that we gave her. Most episodes, I think she's solid. Despite all the craziness that goes on. I know we haven't given her a lot of chizzy so far, but I think that like if there was like a top 5, I think she's in the conversation a lot of times. I
think she's probably now winning the chizzy. She was coming second before to Logan, so I think with these 6 points, I don't know the charts in front of me, she's probably winning right now. I think that's what you said at the top of the episode, like who's playing well. It is the Karns, it is the Logans who aren't doing the crazy things, but are just like holding it down every episode with like normal. That stable power. Yes, and the normalcy. That's the good gameplay in this season. Yeah, this was fun, Chappelle. It was a big episode. I think we talked through a lot of interesting stuff, I think.
It was, and we did it
to time.
It's within our hour. We did it.
Yeah, tell the people where to find you.
Well, I have 4 minutes of plugs, but I'll just skip all the way to the end. ReCapKickback.com is where you can find me. YouTube.com/@ReCapKickback. I was checking the stats, Shannon. Got a couple Australian subscribers, but not a lot. Not a ton. It's not enough. They want me to shave this head or get a tattoo. Or come to Australia. Yeah. I will come to Australia. Just go click that subscribe button, that like button. I like the international follower. I want to be able to come to Australia and people be like, hey, that's Chappelle. He's cool here. Like, I want to be good in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I come around, I don't want people to be like, oh, who's that new person? Like, no, just accept me in. Tell me where all the spots are. I love a good beer. That kind of thing. So, yeah, subscribe. ReCapKickback.com. Yeah. Well, I've never had that. So I would love to check it out.
It's really bad.
Then never mind. I'm good. Well, you still got to try it. But yeah, ReCapKickback.com, YouTube.com/@ReCapKickback. We got Abbott Elementary coverage over there. We got other like Brent Steele simulations going on. Tyler Perry's Beauty in Black is dropping. And so Mari and I are going to laugh at that for a whole month. And so a lot of good stuff coming there, but you got to check it out by subscribing. That's it.
Yes. Go hear more from Chappelle. That sounds great. Everyone should go do that. Go subscribe.
Yeah.
Follow me at Shannon Gates. Tomorrow, Puya. Then Mike. This week we have Caroline on the Feedback Show. 48 is happening. We have Tessa this week on global coverage. An exit interview will happen this week. Everything at Shannon Gates. We know globalsurvivor.com, so you don't miss any of it. And that's it. Under an hour. Talked about a big episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you, Chappelle. Thank you to our team behind the scenes. Thank you to you all for listening. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Peace.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.